Hello students, so this is Brock Skaggs and I'm going to make this video demonstration on some modeling concepts inside of SolidWorks, and we'll be using the mixing cap part as the example. And so you can see we've got a default configuration on the left hand side, a config A on the right hand side, and we've got a part that'll be IPS units. You can see the dimensions are in inches, and 661 T6 aluminum alloy there. So you can see both isometric view here in the first sheet. As usual, sheet 2 contains the detail of the default configuration. And so you can see all the dimensions here. A couple notes here: uniform wall thickness of an 1/8 inch. Rounds and fillets are 1/8 inch as well, unless otherwise specified. And then after we get done with the default configuration, we'll go ahead and add these kind of nozzle inlets, if you will, around the middle portion of the part itself there. And so let's just jump right in here. And so I will go to SolidWorks, create a part template going. IPS units is fine. And as far as origin placement, orientation, you get the orientation here. Origin placement appears to be on the very bottom surface of the part, and right at the center of that kind of hemispherical feature. And so I'll just start with that kind of hemisphere. So half the sphere here, radius of 2, and I'll create it as solid first, and then I'll go ahead and shell to get us started with the kind of hollow geometry here. And so inside of SolidWorks, I'm going to hop on the front plane, and I'm going to first define my center line there. So that'll be the axis of revolution for the revolve feature. And then we'll go ahead and draw a line. And really I just need 1/4 of the circle. So I'll go ahead and cut away the other parts. And so very quickly we can arrive at a 1/4 section of a circle with a radius of 2 for the dimension there. And we'll, of course, will rotate it around this center line. So I'll exit, go revolve boss base. It's a blind revolve 360 degrees and R2. And that should get us started. So I'm going to go ahead and shell this out right now. And so I can go to shell feature. I want to remove this bottom face, so I'll go ahead and select it. And the thickness is 1/8 of an inch there from the drawing, so 0.125 inches there. And again, this blue box shows me the faces I'm going to remove. And so by selecting that, you can see I've got a nice hollow part here. See the section view there showing that it is indeed hollow. And so now, what about the kind of flange that sticks out here? You've got a nice bolt circle on it. Let's go ahead and draw that in. And so I'm going to get back on the top plane to make the sketch. I'll go ahead and show the hidden lines as well there through the view shadings here. And so what I'm going to do is use convert entities, and I'll grab the very inner circle there in order to use convert entities. And then I will also come out here and define the very large OD here. And so that OD is 5.5 inches here. And so with those two, we should be able to kind of define this flange feature. It's raised up by 1/8 of an inch. And so I'll go ahead and go to features, go to boss extrude, turn it back to the shaded so we can see a little bit better. And we need to come up 1/8 of an inch here. And so that creates that flange feature. Of course, it's got a series of holes wrapped around it. And so let's go ahead and create one of those, and I'll pattern the feature. And so I'll just get a sketch going on that top face, as you saw. It's on some bolt circle here, and so I can go ahead and define the bolt circle diameter here. Looks like it's 4.75 right from the top view. And so just drawing the circle, 4.75 inches for the diameter. The center point of the circle is right at the origin. And I'm going to go ahead and make it construction as well, because I'm not really needing it to define the boundary again of the cut extrude. And right at the top of this circle, I can snap to that quadrant position, center my circle for my hole, and it is a diameter of 0.25, so 1/4 inch diameter. Just like so. So 0.25 inches for the diameter there. And that's going to go through all. So I'll extrude cut, and I'll just have it go, say, up to next. So up to next should go down until it hits that bottom surface. So, just like that, we've created our first seed feature, being that first hole. So now we just need to pattern it, and so there's 8 entities total. And so I can come over here, instead of linear pattern, of course, circular pattern. My pattern axis definition can be defined with just this cylindrical face there on the very outside of the part. The feature I want to pattern is the cut extrude 1, my hole there. And I'll just jog this up until I have 8 equally spaced holes. So far so good. And so now let's start working vertically here. Looks like I've got a hole cut out of the top of this that's going to lead up to the rest of my features here. It's 1.25 is the distance between outer walls here, 1/8 inch wall thickness, so that hole should be just 1 inch in diameter. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll go ahead and get right on the top plane. It'll be a very simple sketch, just a 1 inch diameter hole centered right at the origin here. And then this will be extrude cut through all, going up to the top surface here. So this is kind of just a prep feature, if you will, to get me going in the vertical direction there. And so that's looking good. So let's go back to our drawing. And one thing you can see is the next feature that really starts is right here at this 3 inches above the very bottom datum, if you will, of the part. And so one thing I could do is make a reference plane there at 3 inches above that top plane, and we can create this column piece below it, and then we can also create all the geometry above it, which I think is a reasonable idea. And so let's go ahead and create that reference geometry. And so I'll go to reference geometry plane, and I'll go ahead and select the top plane as my reference, and then I just want to create a plane that's parallel to it, but just offset by 3 inches, which is what I have there in blue. And so it's fully defined, so I'll go ahead and accept it. And so now I can start creating some more solid geometry. And so first I've got this column working its way down. It's going to be concentric with that hole, but it's going to have a diameter of 1.25 for the outer profile of it. And so we should be able to do that. We can get right on plane 1 here. So I'll go normal 2 as usual. I'll go convert entities here so I can grab the edges of that hole that I made. And then I'll go ahead and come back in here, draw a circle centered on the origin with the diameter of 1.25. And so you can see now that that's 2 concentric circles would be the cross section right here in this column portion. And I've already got the height defined because I'm 3 inches above the top plane. So now I just need to extrude downward until I contact the rest of the part. And so that part of contacting the rest of the part, there should be a direction feature for that. And so when I go to extrude boss and base, I'll flip the direction to go downward, but instead of putting a blind dimension here, I'll go up to next. And so you can see up to next here allows me to go right to where I contact the existing geometry and merge the result there. So that's looking good. And now we just have this top portion above. And so the top portion, you can see it's just a half circle essentially, a few straight lines connected by some rounds in here. And so let's go ahead and draw the base portion of that first. Then we can use something like offset to draw the vertical walls. And so that base portion, I should be able to sketch the profile on this plane 1 that I've created. As far as the outer profile, we'll go ahead and draw that first. And so we've got the circle. Just go ahead and draw them as sharp edges for now, and we can put the sketch fillets in later. And then we'll trim it inside up. Dimensions now. A 1.25 radius for the outside here. And length you can see is 2 from the top view. And then 0.5 radius for the fillets on the corners. 0.5 here. So that looks good at this point, and then convert entities for the inside to grab that hole that we're trying to maintain. And so I believe that gets us to the correct fully defined sketch. And then we would want to what? Extrude upward, because we're again right here 3 inches above the top plane. And we'll go up 1/8 of an inch to maintain that wall thickness. And so we'll go straight into boss extrude, go up the 1/8 of an inch to create the very bottom portion of that feature. And so now we just need to go the top, right? We need to go up 1 inch around the perimeter of it, where it's again 1/8 inch walls all the way around. And so that should be a pretty easy thing to do. And so we can go ahead and select this face here as the sketch plane, go normal 2. Here I want to convert entities. And so let's have it select the chain and see if we can get it to select all of these at once. Looks like it didn't quite go for us here. And so I guess I'll just go ahead and select around. If I can get my model oriented right here. And so I'm just selecting the edges around my part, accepting the convert entities, and now I've essentially traced out the outer boundary from my previous sketch. And so now I want to convert it, or excuse me, offset entities from this. And so here I've got the select chain working. Instead of going to the outside, I want to go to the inside, so I'll hit reverse. And we said these are 1/8 inch walls. You can see it's rounding to 2 decimal places there. If I want, I can come over here to the definition of the dimension and go to 3. And then I need to go up vertically 1 inch. And so I will go to Extrude Boss Base, enter my 1 here, to go up the 1 inch here. I'll go ahead and hide plane 1 as well. So looking good. One thing I can go ahead and do is put in these fillets here and here. You can see some fillets and a fillet down here as well. All those are not marked, so they're going to take the global value of 0.125 for the radius. So I'll go fillet, 0.125 here, and apply that to that edge and both the edges associated with that cylindrical face. And making one check at the drawing here. And I believe we've arrived at what we needed. And so I'll go ahead and add the material at this point. It's an aluminum alloy 661 T6. So here. And I believe we should be able to check now the mass props here. And so it looks like 0.66 pounds is good, 0, 1.61, and negative 0.15 for the center mass location. So all those are looking good. So next we move on to configuration A. And so configuration A, a lot of the geometry remains the same, except for now we're adding these additional features here. And so to prepare for that, I'll go ahead and go to config A here in the SolidWorks part, just by creating the configuration there. And so now I'm working in config A. I don't really need to suppress anything, because really I'm just adding new features. You can see here I've got a little bit of a lagging issue here, where I've got that depth enter a value or start with equals to create an equation. That's still hanging on there, but it should be fine. Here you can see in the right view is where I've got most of the geometry definition here. So on the right plane, I'm going to start by making the sketch for the added material, and then I'll come back in and we'll use a Revolve Cut to remove the interior material there. So we're going to have a Revolve feature here where we'll add material, then a Revolve Cut to remove the unneeded material away. After that, we'll do some sort of pattern in order to create the 2 other instances here. And so that's the game plan. Now let's implement it. Create the sketch on the right plane here. I'll go ahead and show the hidden lines view here so I can see a little better. And one thing I do have is a line here. It's inclined at 45 degrees to the horizontal. The overall length is 3.5. Yep, don't want the vertical dimension, so I'll delete it off. I need the align dimension. So just careful when you place that dimension. And this is going to be really a piece of construction geometry there. So that's the last thing I did, is went to construction geometry. So with that, let's go ahead and use convert entities so we can map to the edge there of the hemisphere. And then drawing out 1/2 of the cross section. Should be something about like that. So now we just need to find the overall width, which appears to be a diameter of 1. And so I'll go ahead and dimension here the diameter at 1. See the extension lines, of course, extending across both sides of the center line, which gives me the ability to dimension the diameter. Here I need to shave off some of this excess from the convert entities, so I'll go ahead and do that now. And it looks like we're in good shape for a revolve, so I'll go ahead and go right into the features, revolve it. If I go back to shaded, you can see the geometry there is looking good. And I create my initial revolve feature there. So now I need to go back into the right plane and make my revolve cut. And so again, I'll be a sketch on the right plane. Again, I'm going to go back to showing the hidden lines. I'll start off with the same center line. Just going to snap to the midpoint of that edge to the origin. I'll still use a convert entities. You can see in the detail here that this revolve cut goes to the very interior of the part. And so I'll use convert entities and able to map to the interface of that hollowed out portion. As far as the actual geometry goes, we'll have a line basically tracing right along the center line there, and then a line here, here, and here. Just again drawing kind of the top half, if you will, of that revolve section. I'll go ahead and use trim entities here and here to remove the excess, and a few dimensions should get us to our desired geometry. 0.125 diameter for the small inlet side here, where it enters the chamber. 0.75 is the diameter out here. And 0.25 is this region here. And so with that, I've arrived at a nice fully defined sketch. And so at this point, I'll go ahead and go to the features. I'll revolve cut. And by accepting the default 360 degrees, I should have arrived at one of our inlet ports here. And so now we just need to replicate that. Before we replicate it, let's go ahead and put the rounds in here. You can see an 1/8 inch round here. And so I'll go to the fillet. We still have the 1/8 inch round and apply it to that edge, just like so. So at this point, we just need to put one on this side and one on the opposite side and not one on the back. And so I'm going to go ahead and use a circular pattern to do this. And so the circular pattern I'll use, so I can use that cylindrical face there to find the axis. The features I want to pattern are the last 3 I created, the revolve cut, as well as the fillet. I want 4 of them, and I want them equally spaced. And so this would have created them equally spaced 4 around the part. But really I don't need this back one here. And so what I can do now is go down to instances to skip here on the left hand side with my circular pattern. And if you see the little purple dot, I can select it. It's instance number 3 is now being removed. And I just have the 3 that I like. And so I'll accept that in order to finish out the part. And so that's looking pretty good. And I think we've arrived at the final geometry for configuration A. And so let's go ahead and check the mass props here. 0.91 is the mass, which is good. 0, 1.67, and 0.06 for the center mass is also looking good there. And so it looks like we've successfully been able to model the config A and the default configurations of this part. And so, as usual, thank you for watching the video, and I hope it helps you out. gaining some experience with SolidWorks and mastering the different features there. Thank you again.